Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Michelle Brunson, and I'm with Telegen. I'm a health IT advisor here at Telegen, and so I would like to welcome you to our peer-to-peer call for podiatry. I'm joined by my colleagues, Tamika Williams and Kelly Smith, and I believe we may have someone else joining, Sandy Swallow. And so Kelly and Tamika and I work on the QPP-SURS program for small, underserved, and rural support. And then Sandy Swallow works with those practices that are greater than 15 providers, or if they are in an ACO. So welcome to everybody. We are so happy to have you. So Telegen has designed this forum. This is something new for us. We wanted to give specialists an opportunity to share their experiences with the QPP-MIPS program and learn from others about their journey. This is an opportunity to learn what others are doing in your specialty, to hear successes and challenges that they face, and maybe give them some advice. This is a forum we really are hoping that you share with each other. We're more facilitating this call between each of you, and we are just trying to make that connection so that we can have some valuable conversations with each other, and it'll give you an opportunity to learn and see what others are doing. It's, of course, meant to be informal because this is for you, and so just remember the lines are open on the call, so please don't put us on hold or mute, so we will not have that in the background. But so let's take a look and see who we have on the call. Before I do that, though, I do want to let you know we are recording this, and so it will be posted on the TelegenQPP.com website under Events and Webinars. So if you would like to reference this later, if you know somebody that may have missed the call, please feel free to share that. We usually get that out in the next day or two. And then also there's a survey at the end to see if you found this feedback or to see if you found this type of a call helpful, if you'd like this, if you'd like something else, or would like us to continue this in the future. So please take about 5 minutes after the call and complete that survey. So thanks so much to everybody. And so let's see who we have on the call first. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and tell us your practice name.
I'm Carrie Raker. I'm with Podiatry Specialist of Iowa.
Thanks, Carrie. Welcome.
I'm Dave Schultz with Town Square Family Foot Care in Coralville, Iowa.
Great, Dave. Thanks, Dave. Welcome.
Diane Johnson, Family Foot Health Care in Waterloo.
Hi, Diane.
Hello.
Do we have anybody else on the call? I'm not sure if we have audio. I know Dr. Pike was asking if there was audio for the internet piece of that, and I submitted that question, but you do have to dial in, Dr. Pike, so I will let her know that. So I know she's logged in, but I don't know if she can hear us quite yet. So do we have anybody else? I have Carrie, Dave, and Michelle.
Dr. Kathy Witt and Dr. Patrick Clears and Michelle Nading from Family Foot Health Care in Waterloo.
Awesome. Thank you and welcome. Anybody else? Okay, well, we will get started. Since we have a smaller group today, well, the format of this is we'd like to start off by asking you some questions. We didn't know how many people we would have, so we do have it in a polling format, but I'll just put the question up there, and then we'll have you just go around and maybe give the answer. And then, so what we'll do is look at an idea of who is on the call, and then your practice size and such, and then we'll go into each one of the categories and talk more specifically about those and give you an opportunity then to share and learn from each other with that. So let's go ahead and get started. So first we're just going to ask, what is the size of your practice? And if you want to just, I'll start with you, Carrie.
I have one doctor and 2 office locations.
Great, thank you. How about Dave?
We have 2 DPMs here.
Awesome. Oh, great. And Diane?
We have 5 here.
Okay. And Dr. Wyerson group?
That is our group.
Oh, that is, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. And then, did I miss anybody? Oh, it sounds like we may have had somebody join.
Hello, this is Nicola. Hi.
Oh, hi, Nicola. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm glad that you were able to call in. We were just discussing practice sizes for everybody. If you would like to share where you're from and your practice size.
I'm from Northwest Iowa, and I'm just one practitioner.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so we have 2 practices with 1 physician, 1 practice with 2, and 1 with 5. So we're all small practice on here so far. So next up is, how did you participate in MIPS for 2017? We'll start with you, Nicola. How did you participate? Did you do the test pace or partial submission or full submission?
I did the registry, so
Okay.
partial submit. Yeah, through the registry.
All right, great. Thank you. And Carrie?
We were with a part of a larger practice in 2017, and I believe they did partial to full submission.
Okay, great. Thank you. How about for you, Dave?
Yeah, I guess I can't remember the specifications on that, but we played all 3 roles for the minimum required. I think it was 90 days, and we got full scores for both clinicians.
Great. Good for you. That's awesome. So you did all 3 categories then?
Yeah, so is that full participation?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good for you. And then Diane and physicians there, how did you participate?
They're with an ACO, so they submitted for us.
Okay, great. And did you have an EHR, did you submit for the former advancing care information category? No, okay, very good. Well, thank you, everybody. And so, did you participate at the individual or group level, or I know, Diane, you were in an ACO. We'll start with Nicola.
Individual.
Yep, you're. And then Carrie, you're individual.
Correct.
Okay, then how about Dave? And,
well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of that was my pickle for last year, was that I was going to submit as a group and found out when it was too late that my software was not able to do that. So I ended up having to submit both as individuals, and then one doctor got a higher score because the other doctor was going to fulfill that as a group.
Oh, no.
For a couple of those advancing care measures.
You bet. Now,
but she still ended up with 75. The other had 93, so it's okay. But again, we both would have been up in the 90s.
Yeah. Oh, that had to be frustrating.
A little bit.
Which EHR were you using, Dave?
So we use TrackNet.
TrackNet, yep, that's common. Thank you for that. We'll get into that a little bit here even more. And then how about Family Foot Health Care? You were APM, that's right. Okay, so good. All right, we're going to go to the next one. And this is going to then lead into a further discussion about, we'll start off with the quality measures after this, more detail. But if you wouldn't mind first telling me, how did you submit your quality measures? We can start with Diane and the doctors at Family Foot Health Care. You did ACO. So they did those for you. I keep asking you that, so I apologize. But I know you think I get that, but sorry. Okay, and Nicola, you said registry, is that correct?
Excuse me, but
yeah, that's correct.
Then something we need to listen to since we are part of the ACO?
Actually, You certainly can. I think that, for the promoting interoperability was the former ACI. You might find that part helpful. But as far as the quality measures piece and the improvement activities, those are covered since you are in an ACO. So it's totally up to you if you feel like that might not be something that would be helpful for you.
I think it just confuses us more, and we just need our direction coming more from the ACO standpoint.
Yes, and Diane, I know we just were emailing before the call, so I have Sandy Swallow we're going to have a call with her to help kind of guide you with the ACO piece. So we can set that time up, and it's definitely, that might make more sense to really focus on that one piece then.
I think we're going to disconnect then.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Sorry about that. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, sorry, everybody. So
that cleans it up for us, too.
Yeah, because it is hard. We get, lists of participation who is included, and we initially thought they were part of a small underserved or rural group, not in an ACO, and then right before the call, she had emailed and was saying she's in an ACO, so that was confusing for her. So sorry about that, and this makes it a lot easier. So while we're still here, do I have anybody else on the call? Is Michaela and Michelle, are you on the call?
Yes. Michelle is here.
Oh, good. So
Michaela's here as well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good.
Nicola, if you wouldn't mind just telling the group where you're from and your practice size.
Sorry about that. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Our practice size, we have 2 doctors and only about 10 employees.
Okay, awesome. And how did you report your quality measures for last year?
Last year we used claims just because it was after 2016 and the rush that we went through, the changes that were made later on, or maybe just the fact that we were misunderstanding things, we decided to stay neutral.
Yes. Okay.
Rather than because we got a letter back after passing 2016 that we had already been participants for 5 years, so we were no longer eligible to get any reimbursements anyways. So we opted to stay neutral and used it as claims.
Okay, so more the test pays to avoid a negative payment.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you for that, Michaela. And then Michelle?
I am located in Clinton, Iowa. I have 1 podiatrist, a receptionist, a medical assistant, and then myself.
Great.
And we submitted via claims.
And did you submit for the partial submission with just the quality, or did you do?
We did full submission.
Okay, full submission. Thank you. Did I miss anybody else? If anyone else joined then? All right. Well, very good. Thank you, everybody. So now I have a list of almost all the quality measures up here. There were a couple that were not included that didn't make the slide, so I apologize. And those are diabetes foot exam, and then functional status change for patients with foot or ankle impairments. And so those are also included for quality measures that are available for podiatry specifically. And so the reason why I have this up here is just if we could talk about a little bit, last year it was at, the weight was at 60%. This year it's at 50%. And so does anyone want to talk about the measures for quality that you chose and how you did for the quality score, if you do remember that or know that? And then anything specific about maybe submitting via a registry? I know Nicola had done that. And so anything that you would like to discuss about quality measures, or if you have some challenges with submitting or for picking measures and how you chose those, I guess. So why don't I start with Carrie, if you wouldn't mind. For your doc, do you remember which measures you chose or how you chose those?
So I wasn't a big part of that back when we were with the big group, but I know we did BMI, we did the falls risk assessment, and the diabetic foot exam. And I honestly, this is such a new curve for me that I would have to go back and ask those employees, of which I no longer work with.
Oh,
but
no, that's okay. No, that's okay. Just wanted to see. And so you may not know if they had any issues with any of those.
Correct.
Okay.
I wasn't a big part of that team.
You bet. That's understandable. Okay. Michaela, would you mind going next? You had chosen the claims method. Test cases.
Yeah.
Like one quality measure?
Exactly. And we already do a lot of these same ones too, actually. So I was, the first year that I was in charge of basically meaningful use and the quality measures and things like that, we did, I'm trying to remember, I don't exactly remember for last year, but we always do the foot evaluation. We always do the foot exam within that time. We always do their footwear. We do that yearly anyways. The BMI, the fall risk, the tobacco use. We also used to do whether or not they had their pneumonia vaccine. But all of the ones basically on this page, except for the fall plan of care, are things that we have kind of put into our regular anyway. So luckily, in the end of 2016, we ended up being able to submit up to 30 patients under the diabetic list. But for last year, I think we were able to stay neutral just by doing what we usually do because we usually track all of this stuff anyways.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Michaela. Dave, how about for your part?
Yeah, so for 2017, we reported 7 measures, reported them through the registry. We did it through MedExpress Specialty Registry.
Oh, yeah.
And we're doing, for 2018, we're doing the same 7 measures. The 2 diabetic foot cares, the peripheral neurological exam, the evaluation of footwear. Then we do the body mass index, documentation of the current meds, tobacco use screening, and then screening for high blood pressure. And then the 7th one that we do is the number 1, diabetes, hemoglobin, HbA1c, pore control.
Yes.
That's an inverse measure, and that's actually the measure we're having the most problems with because we have to get a physical lab report from the PCP. And that's an annual measure that we have to report all 12 months, and so we're finding that we're having trouble getting those actual reports, getting them in, following up on them. I'm actually having a clerk circle back through now and trying to grab these reports. We actually have a physical report, but that's the one we're having the biggest challenge with.
Well, why don't I throw this out to the group then, Dave? Does anybody else are you using that diabetes A1C and pore control measure that, and having trouble getting that report back from the primary care or trouble getting reports from primary care providers in general that maybe you could share with Dave?
This is Michelle from in Clinton. We also do the A1C. We have some problems. We go to 32 different nursing facilities. So those are added in our quality measures, and that seems to be very difficult trying to track down an A1C. We'll usually put in a lot of phone calls, but kind of in the same boat as Dave, that's a hard one to hit.
Yeah, we're spending a lot of resources on that when I don't think we need to. I think it's kind of a foolish thing that we have to get a report in our hands. That's really a roadblock, a hurdle.
I agree.
So we did that measure, I'm sorry, I keep resorting back to 2016. We really didn't do a whole lot for 2017. We were just trying to get through neutral, but was it required to have the A1C in hand before currently? Because we would
it is now. I don't remember what it was in 16, but in 2017 and 2018, you actually have to have the physical report.
That's good to know. That was probably the only reason that we passed it in 2016 was because the patients would inform us what it was, or we could get over the phone, but getting it actually from the PCP would have taken a lot more time.
Yeah, that's hard because, and it's something that we're going to talk about, but, you know, if they have an EHR and if you have an EHR and getting that direct address, that secure email address from within their EHR and the process, what we work with a lot of our practices is for them to understand what that is and how that can help. And this would be a perfect example if Dave or Michelle, you were asking for that, and if they do have an EHR, to just ask for your direct address, and then they could just send it with a click of a button.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Again, I think the EHRs are just a little too cumbersome. At least mine is for that right now. But yeah, they are evolving quickly. That would be great.
Yeah, it sure would help. That's for sure. Especially when you're spending a lot of
TrackNet.
Yeah, I'm using TrackNet.
I also use TrackNet.
Have you developed that secure email system yet in there?
I'm not sure who you're asking. That's on my number one list of things to do. Is they just released a new version with a portal on it. It was horrible before, so I have not really got any of that set up yet. That's my next step to do here as we're entering the final quarter and we're actually going live with this, the interoperability. And
me too. Actually, I was asking you because I knew someone else said they used TrackNet, and I was just wondering how you went about doing that if you've done it already.
Yeah. So have you done it yet?
I have. I mean, I've done it. I learned how to do it a couple years ago when it was a requirement to get one message back from a patient.
And so horrible. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I had to have a conversation with a patient that I was close with that we have seen all the time, and basically gave them one-on-one instructions. Okay, can you please do this for me? And that's
the only way that we and embarrassing. Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It is very embarrassing.
And we were in the same situation. We physically had the patient sit in our office, and I walked them through it.
Yeah, with them right next to you.
Yes, exactly.
So what's the point here? We're kind of ahead of ourselves doing that, I guess. It's not really something that's being practiced regularly if we have to sit here and do it with somebody.
That's so poetic.
And, just so you know, you're not alone. This is a struggle. And even for electronic health records that have that functionality, it's more about educating the staff that have to use it, what it is. And so what we will find is, like the practices I work with, they'll almost have to tell them this is what it is. Would you mind contacting your EHR to get your direct address or how to set that up? So then I could do a test run with you. So I really hope that in this next year, people will be more knowledgeable about what this is and then more engaged with their EHRs, and that their EHRs are capable of doing that. So you mentioned Dave, Michelle, and is it Michaela that all use TrackNet?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. And then, Carrie, what do you use for your EHR?
So currently we're Next Gen or Health Fusions. We used to be TrackNet. As of July 1st, we switched over.
Okay. Because of all the problems that you were having with TrackNet?
Yes. I was so frustrated. I just couldn't take it anymore.
It sounds like for good reason.
We kind of got close to that a few weeks ago. We actually, it seems like they had worked a lot of things out, but it seems to be going downhill again. We have bills that are dropping off of people's charts left and right at this point currently. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that.
No.
I had a lot of customer service. Every time we did an update or meaningful use, everything just got stacked up.
That is not good, especially when it affects your bottom line for sure. Wow.
Michelle, this is Karen.
Yes.
And I sent to you and Tamika, since the doctor identified he uses MedExpress as a qualified clinical data registry. The good news about there's always these barriers, right, with the EHR, but the good news about MedExpress, and we're not advocating here for anybody you're already using their service, is that they do have several QCDR measures, and since I have been in several communication meetings with that QCDR, one of the things that has the capabilities of doing, and I see that Pam's on the call too, she can actually speak more to how this process actually works because it's similar to qualified clinical data registries that she's worked with. They have the capability to go into your documentation and retrieve performance on these their QCDR measures. So they're measures other than the ECQMs that you had on the screen. And they really do fit well into the podiatrist clinical workflows. Then the other good news is, like, for NextGen, actually, there was a demonstration of the capabilities that NextGen has in terms of closing that referral loop, which is also going to be a promoting interoperability measure, and that NextGen is doing really well in terms of being proactive and ready for where they're taking the promoting interoperability levels. So if it works for podiatrists, they may want to share that information with their other clinicians of the same provider type. But the QCDR measures that MedExpress has gives another opportunity for workflows without having to struggle with the non-functionality of some of the ECQMs in the TrackNet EHR.
Thank you so much, Karen. That gives another thought, especially for Dave. I think it was that uses MedExpress.
Yeah, I'll have to explore that.
Karen Course and then Pamela Blue Nelson, they are Telligence partners, and so Karen works with not just chiropractic providers, but also with mental health, and she's a great asset to us. And then Pamela Blue Nelson is with the MGMA, and she helps us with the cost component as well. So they're great additions, and thank you so much for those thoughts, Karen. Okay, and then how about Nicola?
Yeah, I use TrackNet.
Okay. And did you experience some of those same issues, Nicola?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully did everybody that is on TrackNet get the released new version? And have you had an ability to implement it into the portal or implement it into your practice?
This is Michelle. We have the most recent update, and currently I'm sending it to the portal, but I haven't had time to set up the other part of it where I go in and respond or see if somebody's responded.
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure how to do that yet, and just with it being such a small office, and like I said, we see anywhere from 30 to 50 patients a day, so I just haven't had time to go call TrackNet and see how to implement the other end of it.
Sure. That's good that you have it installed and getting ready for that piece. And how about, Dave, you're going to be doing that, and Michaela?
Honestly, we're going to start here for fourth quarter to do all of our 2018 stuff, but sending it through was never an issue. I guess I'm way behind with educating myself on requirements for 2018, so I apologize if this sounds silly, but if you're gonna go through the registry, is sending it through the portal still a requirement, or are we just tracking all these things?
Well, setting up the portal is just going to help you fulfill a couple of those measures.
Okay, so sending it through the portal is easy enough, but same as, I'm sorry, I'm bad with names, the other gal was saying, going back in and logging in to make sure to see if anyone has messaged me back isn't something that I've been regular with, so I need some more education on that.
Well, and I just went through the specs yesterday, and for 2018, in these next 3 months, we only have to accomplish these with one patient.
Only one? Yes. Okay, so that was the same as 2016.
Thankfully, yes.
Yes, that's
so
awesome.
This year we may be doing the same thing as sitting down with the patient. Okay, here, please give me this address. Set up your account.
Well, and I don't know about what everybody else's practice is, but ours is a 90% 65 plus.
Oh, yeah.
Most of those people do not want to deal with the email or don't have one, or if they do, they don't know how to use it, and they're not interested.
Exactly.
Yeah, So there's a couple different measures, and we can maybe shift now to promoting interoperability unless, because I was going to talk about those requirements. Does anybody have anything else? Carrie or Nicola or Tamika, am I missing something that you'd like to discuss?
I'm okay to move on.
I'm okay to move on.
Okay.
Calling this, is this what's on the show? Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay, so we'll talk now about the promoting interoperability because so there are a couple different measures that we're talking about, like Dave was saying. So the one that would be where you just need to have a 1 in the numerator would be to be able to send a summary of care. And that's, you know, how you were asking about the primary care provider, you wanting their A1C report so you could have that in hand for that quality measure of A1C pore control. So this gives you the ability to do that. And that's a little bit different than actually having communication with the patient, but it's both, everything is secure and it's just email, but to different types of end users. So the sending the summary care is like provider to provider.
Yeah, you know, and we fulfilled that in 2017 by doing a fax output from TrackNet to the provider with the summary of care attached to it, and that was sufficient. Is that still the case?
So faxes are not considered electronic, but I can't speak directly about TrackNet, like how they are counting that, because it came from within TrackNet. They may be giving you credit for that, so I don't want to misspeak.
Right, because I know that's not the intent of that.
Right.
That's kind of circumventing it. Yeah.
Because so what happens when you send or somebody sends to you a summary of care, the functionality of these EHRs allows you to be able to incorporate that data that you may want to incorporate. Maybe you just
want
to
granular data into your system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Not a fact.
Review it, and you know you want to. It may just be the summary of care itself that you attach as a document to your EHR, but you may also want to take pieces of that data and incorporate that.
Like the A1C.
Yes, and the site, the source, and such. So that functionality. So what they call it a direct address. And so when you're speaking with other practices that you may need a summary of care or you're going to send your summary of care to them, they call the EHR world knows it as direct address. So if they're not sure what you're talking about, first of all, every EHR has that functionality that is 2014 or 2015 certified. So they may not know that and say they can't do it, but if they do have an EHR and it's certified at those 14 or 15 levels, then they would be able to do it. So then I would encourage them to reach out. And I know it takes a lot of practice or time to do this, but if it is somebody that you are receiving a lot of referrals from, then it really might be worth your time if they're willing to put the time into it. So that is the sending the summary of care. And then for the patient portal, that sending information out to the patient portal for the view, download, or transmit so they can actually look at their information. It's setting that up, and that sounds like that's a pretty extensive process right now with TrackNet, hopefully not with this new version. And so that's really what those are. So like you said, if you have that one office that you can send a summary of care to, that they're willing to work with you, then that is the minimum requirement for if you want to, report for the promoting interoperability.
Can I just ask a real quick side question to Carrie, who uses NextGen? Do they have a portal, and is it any good?
So I've been working with it since July 1st, so fairly new with the process yet. All in all, I definitely prefer this system to what we have with TrackNet. Now, we were not cloud-based with TrackNet, whereas with NextGen we are. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but they are for whatever reason the app there allows me it's just great access to see exactly which measures I've met, which ones I need to ask. That's been beneficial for me personally.
Yeah, that's helpful, Carrie. So how was the implementation of NextGen then? Was it difficult to do, or since you had been on an EHR already, or was it more about just learning some details of the product?
So the doctor that I work with now separated off and made his own practice. So we basically started our EHR nothing and just built it there. And NextGen did a fabulous job of educating me, helping me set up like the direct addresses. I can say that, again, I was not impressed with TrackNet's support system. I am very impressed with NextGen.
And how about Nicola, how did you do with the ACI category after now called Promoting Interoperability? Did you submit any data for that? I can't remember.
No, I did not.
Okay, I was trying to think that. And so it's everybody, if you wouldn't mind just saying what your goal is for the Promoting Interoperability. Is it to meet, to try to report for that, since you all do have an EHR? Michelle?
Honestly, we're just trying to keep our head above water and avoid the penalties.
Yeah.
Like I said, with nursing facilities, most of those people, some of them don't know their own names, so to try to get some of that, I kind of feel that's unfair that there's nothing in the TrackNet not in the TrackNet, in the quality measures, that if the patient is a poor historian and can't answer the questions, that can't be added into it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because otherwise we take a huge hit when we go to, a lot of the facilities have a memory care unit, so, we just can't get hardly anything to try to hit any of those, but have to include them.
Does anybody have any other, do your providers, or Nicola, do you go to care facilities and?
I do, and I go through the chart, and I speak to the family physicians for information. And for my hemoglobin A1Cs, I go directly to the lab.
Oh, that's a good idea. Right to the lab, so you don't have to worry about the provider.
Correct.
Do you have a lot of different labs that you have to work with?
Well, usually it's the hospital settings.
Okay.
So I go through the hospitals. If they go there, because the family physicians work in my area a lot. They, work with the hospitals themselves. So I can just go directly to the labs and get that information.
That's handy. That's handy. That's nice. Would that work for you, Michelle?
She must have a lot more cooperation on her end because even if we try to find out what lab they were used, we get very little help from the nursing staff when we go into the facilities.
Yeah, I would not.
That's not good.
Can you go through the charts and go through them yourself, or?
Some of them are very funny about letting us into there because of HIPAA. Sometimes they just won't even help us find where they are. There's just some of the facilities that it's just to get the basic paperwork and insurance information is a struggle.
But the continuity of care, so HIPAA, they're required to give you that information because you're seeing their patients. So.
Oh, I totally agree, but.
My nurses are very kind to me, and they give me all the information I need. Where I don't go there then.
I'm sorry, she keeps cutting in and out.
Yeah, speak up a little bit.
Required to give you the information because you're seeing their patients, and so if they aren't cooperative, then I have to say I can't go there.
Ooh.
Well, and we are kind of getting to that point that if they won't give us information on a patient, I've told our doctor and our nurse, I'm like, we cannot see them because we're getting penalized.
Correct. Yeah. That's what you have to. Yeah. I mean, they're required, and that when you go there, you should speak to the administrator, the DON, and they will. A lot of mine are very. We work well together. I mean, I know you work well with yours too, but I mean, they're a lot more open because they're happy that I provide the services to their patients.
Oh, sure, definitely. And I think just a lot of them, we go to our, I don't want to say lower end, but some of them are and just aren't staffed and, they more or less just tell us they don't have the time. So.
This is Nicola. I kind of have a thought on this. So the other podiatrist here that started a year and a half ago is seeing they go to about 10 different facilities like that. So that's one thing I'm nervous about is if he has to hit a certain percentage of doing all this, that is kind of nerve-wracking seeing how many patients he goes to. And some of those facilities, like you said, I don't know if lower end is the way to put it, but they're short-staffed. They don't know who to send you to get the information that you need. And then when you do go to that DON and actually get time to speak with them, they're either not knowledgeable enough to understand why you need that information, or they don't know what to do with it, so they brush it off the table. So
I agree 100% with what you're saying, and I mean, I know some of them try and they just don't know, aren't, like you said, are not educated. And we also get the comment, you're just here to trim toenails. So,
right. You're not a real doctor.
Yeah, you're just pretending.
Very important fact that by doing that, you're, saving a lot of people from going to the going to the hospital setting also. By taking care of them.
Absolutely.
So if I guess I'm asking for myself, we're going to dive into this fourth quarter and pray that we can make it if we're going through the registry submission. With the registry measures that we need to meet, is that by percentage on how much information we get for each measure?
The interoperabilities are just with one patient, and those are for 90 days. And same with the improvement activities. So what you're really talking about is the quality measures, and those are for the whole year. Those aren't just fourth quarter.
Right.
Okay.
So what happens, Michaela, is that you, based on how you perform with those quality measures, then you will score a different amount of points based on how you perform. So with a minimum of 3 points per quality measure, because you are a small practice. And so also because it will be submitted via registry, then you will score an extra bonus point for an electronic submission. So that's also helpful. But each measure has a different, set of points, and it's called benchmarks. And so based on the type of submission that was completed. So, and I actually am very fortunate to get to work with you, and so I would be more than happy we could set up a time to meet here in this next week and kind of go through this a little bit further, and that way you can have
that'd be great. Sorry, I don't want to take away from the meeting there.
No, this is what it's intended for, but it's good because I do hear from all of you that this next quarter is important, and we are going to be sending out a submission or sending out a notification to everybody to say, hey, if you plan on submitting improvement activities or promoting interoperability, your 90 days will start here soon on October 2nd to capture the last 90 days. And so this is very important. But also with all of you, that's what I'm here for, as well as Tamika, to help work through what's best for you. And we will be talking about that. I've got my contact information here, but so that really is important to just, I guess, consider. But this promoting interoperability also, I do want to state that something new for 2018 is the ability, if something were to go awry with your TrackNet, let's say, and that you are not able to implement it in time or if there's an issue, they did provide small practices with the ability to be able to apply for a hardship exception on the promoting interoperability piece alone. And so if you are in a situation where something is not working out and you can't get this to be implemented in time or it's causing an issue with one of the required measures, then we can also apply for that hardship. And then if it gets fixed before the end of the year, then even though you apply for a hardship and let's say we're granted that hardship, then you could still submit your data and they will score it then. So hopefully we won't have to do that because I'm very happy to hear you all have EHRs, but just in case, keep that in mind.
What's the due date for that hardship?
The hardship exception can be submitted through the 31st of December.
Thank you.
You bet.
So could you tell us what we're required for the fourth quarter?
Yeah, so really it could be any quarter. I don't want you to think that it has to be just fourth quarter, but like let's say you hadn't been, maybe you didn't update your EHR, you hadn't been tracking it as well, you just weren't performing as well as you'd like to in any of the other 90-day periods. It doesn't just have to be a quarter. I just want to stress that, and it can be up to a full year of data if you have been doing really participating well in that category. So these next the last 90 days are fast approaching, and so that's why we say, hey, if you haven't started yet, make sure that you are ready to go. And so that's why we say, you know, it ends up being the last quarter. But if you did plan on participating in the promoting interoperability category with your EHR, you would want to start that 90 days. And so there are base measures that are required, as Dave had said, with a minimum of 1 in the numerator if you don't have an exception to it as well. So that would be your e-prescribing and your sending your summary of care. That's with the other one. Okay, now all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank.
This is Tanika. E-prescribing, providing patient access, send summary of care and request and accept the summary of care, and then there's also the one that is the security risk analysis, which is a yes/no.
Yes, thank you so much. So those, if you decide to, and you can report the security risk analysis as a yes/no, that has to be done before the end of the 2018 year, and then e-prescribing, at least 1 in the numerator for that, unless you don't write more than 100 prescriptions. Providing patient access, and that's where we were talking about offering the portal to them. Not that they actually go online and access it, but that you're offering that option and telling them, how to set one up. And then sending a summary of care and requesting the summary of care from the primary care provider. So those are where the 1 in the numerator comes to be.
So on the sending and receiving electronically to a primary care provider, I do remember having to do this when, the 3.0 TrackNet came out. They actually did allow us to fax because their stuff wasn't ready yet. They put 3.0 out way before it was actually ready to be out and used. So what you're saying is faxing is actually not electronic, and it does need to be done through the portal. So we need to talk to our other docs and see if they have one too that we can actually get hooked up. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I would definitely
recommend. Faxing is not counting.
Right. And I do, like I said, have to put that caveat in there that unless they're doing something, I can't even think of how that would be, but electronically from your EHR to their EHR, and they're calling it faxing, but...
No, I think that's absolutely right.
Too.
That kind of refreshes my memory. I think that's right. The old version, that's how we were able to get away with it. this new version is 2015 cert.
Good.
Oh, okay.
Now, I do want to say something else about this. So in this year, you can choose one of two ways of submitting, and maybe this might refresh some of your memories. So last year and this year, you can submit either the Advancing Care Information, now called Promoting Interoperability Objectives and Measures, or it was the 2017 Advancing Care Information Objectives and Measures. So if you didn't have the 2015 version yet, even if you did, you would not have to, that last piece, request/accept the summary of care or health information exchange, that wasn't a part of the 2014 certification route that you would go with those measures. So
yeah, it wasn't part there, but it was part in 15 or 16, and you had to manually enter. That's how we did it. So we would fax, and I confirmed it with the TrackNet representative. If you send the fax, and then she went in and showed me how to manually enter, so we have electronically sent out a summary of care, and we have electronically received a summary of care / referral for this many patients. That's what TrackNet told me to do, which might not be right. I'm not saying it was correct, but
yeah, just for my own curiosity, I might want to just take a look at that. Just because I'm always intrigued by these, and there, like I said, there could be something programming wise that they do. But if you're faxing it, like you're from a fax machine, your fax machine, that's not electronic.
No, we fax it right out of TrackNet with an internet fax.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe
I can see. So that should be electronic, should it not?
Well, and again, that was how we were getting around it, because we had the old certified version.
Okay.
But now that we're 2015 certified, I bet that's not an option anymore.
Well, here's the thing about this too, that because it seems like, well, if you have 2015 certified EHR, that you would do then the requirements for that 2015 certified EHR. But you can actually choose to do the 2014 objectives and measures, and that would mean that it would not include that request/accept a summary of care, and it would just be sending a summary of care to another practice. So,
and so those are the transition measures.
Yes, they were.
So the only thing I could see was the full measures had like an added patient-generated health data, so I didn't realize you don't have to receive either.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like that's that next step, so you can push it out.
And if we do all the measures, we get something, right?
So you get the more points, the higher the percentage for each measure, the more points that you would receive. So there are 25 points for the Promoting Interoperability category. And the nice thing about what CMS has done for flexibility, because they know, like, let's say Michelle was saying she has 90% of her patients 65 and up. Maybe that patient portal is not going to be an option, maybe for podiatry in general, if you do have a lot of care facilities you go to. So what they say is if you just have one for those required measures in your numerator, but then you might be able to make up your points in different ways, like providing patient education, let's say, or any of the other what they call performance measures, where you get points that it's not required like it was for the base measures, but they're extra performance measures. So that's the nice thing about it, and that's where I recommend we could go in there and take a look to see, maybe when you run your PI reports, you're going to see that you could submit something else, and in the end, out of 25 points, you end up making up some that you weren't able to really get through let's say, the patient portal option or the sending the summary of care option. So they do try to give a little bit of flexibility, because they heard from a lot of practices that based on their specialty or their demographics, that maybe the patient portal wasn't the easiest, or, it allows for some time to get ramped up on the other requirements, if that makes sense. So,
Michelle, this is Karen.
Yes.
So because I work with the specialties quite a bit, and the specialties that don't have a lot of transitions of care, if you only have, and I had this experience last year, the provider only had one transition of care. Now, I could have taken an exclusion. However, he did the med reconciliation. He sent the summary of care on that transition, and he did med reconciliation on that. And for the performance scores, if you have just that, and you send off that summary of care, and you do the med reconciliation on one transition of care, you end up getting 30 points in the transition measure set. And so if you don't have a lot of transitions of care and you have sent the care summaries and you have done the med reconciliation on them, you can actually offset the points that you would get for doing the 2015 cert with the 10% bonus. The math on it is actually to your benefit yet in the transition measure set because of the 20 points for the sending the health information exchange, sending the summary of care. That's changed now next year, but nonetheless, it's all about points.
Right. Well, thank you for that.
So we receive a lot. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, we receive a lot of referrals. Sending out, not as much. I mean, we do, but just not quite as much. So I guess I just need to be educated on more details on what I need to be doing for that.
And that's where I come in. And now yes, exactly. Now we just have a few minutes, but I don't want to forget about the improvement activities category. It is worth 15 points, and this is where a lot of practices that maybe were not able to get into the quality piece, or they want to avoid the negative payment adjustment this year. Since we are all small practices, and if you report on one high-weighted activity or two medium-weighted activities, we get the full 15 points. So if we could quickly just go down the line and see, did you participate in the improvement activities? And if so, which activity, if you remember, did you do? Could I start with, let's say, Dave?
Yeah, I am doing the same one that I did in 2017. It's EPA-1. It's a high priority expanded practice access.
Yeah.
We have it set up where we do provide evening hours and we have access to our EHR 24/7. And so kind of read through this and interpreted it that way. Great.
And that's a nice one, especially for your specialty and for having EHRs. And I had a lot of my practices use that one. Michelle, how about for you?
I actually can't remember if I went through with you guys. I believe I did. We were going to the nursing homes. I can't remember which one it is offhand. I apologize.
That's okay.
But something was going to other outside facilities that qualified us. And we did one other one. It might have been a patient care survey. Is that one of them?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we did those two.
Wonderful. How about you, Carrie? Or did we lose Carrie? She may have had to go. How about Nicola?
Yeah, I didn't do that. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right. And then Michaela?
I honestly can't tell you at this point.
I know. Sometimes it's a blur. Well, I just want to, first of all, thank all of you for your great participation, and I hope that you were able to pull away a few things, even if you can just one little nugget. But if you would like, I think I am working with most of you, but I say let's get on the horn here and get going on this, and it kind of use this as a launching for this last quarter to really, I think the biggest thing is just pulling your TrackNet report, and then if you want to send those to me, and that would include both your quality and your PI categories, then what I like to do is just go through the benchmarks, see what like your score would be for quality right now, as of right now, and then also your PI, and we can talk about ways to get that, up there. And one last question. Would any of you like to share your contact information with the others, since all but Carrie are on TrackNet?
Yeah, I would, absolutely. I did have a question too. Karen, who are you with?
Karen is with Best Practices Academy. She is a partner of ours, and so we can have the two of you connect to her with all of you, because she's awesome. Michelle, would you like to share your information with the group?
Sure, absolutely. I would take any input. Like you said, being a small office, and I'm sure everybody else is in the same position, you wear several hats, and sometimes I lack on, or just don't have the time or education time to update myself or know what's going on for sure.
Absolutely. And how about you, Michaela?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
I'll take whatever advice people have, so.
How about you, Nicola?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
And then I don't know, Carrie? She may have left. So, well, I will definitely share that. And thanks again to everybody. I appreciate all of the input. And I'm looking forward to this last quarter. It's going to be fast and furious. And so really excited to get started on this with all of you.
Well, I have to say thank you. It's nice to have a little extra support.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
You're welcome. Everybody have a great afternoon, and we will talk soon.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.